Right, who's up for a little friendly competition? So, we're going to be checking out Heroic Grit, and boy, is it good to be back doing some shenanigans with a scalable card. So, Heroic Grit, the more toughness you control, the bigger it pumps. Now, the question is, the little friendly wager, if you will, who do you think is the tougher hero, Tuffnut or Pleiades, right? Let me know. Who are you betting on out of the two? Because Heroic Grit is a revered action, so they both have access to it. So basically, I'm going to do whatever I can to generate as much toughness as I can as both of the heroes to see how big we can get Heroic Grit as a pump onto Tuffnut's Rock and whatever I choose to swing as Pleiades. So yeah, comment down below, Tuffnut or Pleiades, and then watch or, well, skip ahead if you just want to see the outcome. But let's get to it. Right, let's see how tough we can get Tuffnut. So of course we have to go full throttle on the shenanigans, right? Because there's not too many great draw engines in Tuffnut, and usually that's the first approach to any of these combo shenanigans is how do we get more cards, not we start with one less card. So yeah, to I think compete with Pleiades, we have to definitely pull into the bag of tricks, right? So starting off nice and easy, we're just going to set up 3 cheers, and remember to click our Sapphire Amulet, right? Getting back to 4 intellect, thank God. And actually I have to turn on priority, right? Because I want to Tuffnut so that we can block with boots to the board. So pass, get our intellect, and then as the dummy declares, we can go and hit Tuffnut. Beautiful. Get ourselves 3 resources, and then I don't have to worry about priority ever again. Beautiful, right? So 3 resources, thanks to Wind Up the Crowd, plus an extra toughness, which is definitely really nice. Then we can block with Boots to the Board and our Helm of the Adored to continue stacking up some toughness. So we can pay all 3. Beautiful. And then we go into our turn with 8 toughness, right? So from here, now we just have to get the stack a little bit higher. So we're obviously tapped as Tuffnut. That's where the Pearl Amulet comes into play. Tap and get ourselves 3 resources, another toughness. Beautiful. We want to keep our Arsenal card to last, but we do want to clear our hand. So obviously, we can hit Blood Rush Bellow and a Beast Within, right? So that way we have a somewhat decent draw engine, if not complete Arsepool, right? I will fully admit to that, but nonetheless, we have Escalate Order. So we want to crack a Time Snap Potion and our Hardened Cross Trap. Then we can go Escalate Order to stack up some more toughness, present 6, right? But that's not really the point of this. No, the point is how much toughness can we generate. From there, we can close the chain again and do Humble Entrance. And I think at this point, I'm fine to just crack everything else, right? So all the energy pots and our Time Snap Potion. We can click ourselves our Hold Firm, get 3 more toughness off of that. And then we can shenanigan with Blood Rush Bellow, right? So guaranteed to hit Beast Within. Beast Within is guaranteed to draw us another Beast Within. And then Blood Rush Bellow hits Blood Rush Bellow and Humble Entrance. And there was a little bit of thought, right? I had to think, how do I stack this correctly to get the most draw, right? But from here, Humble Entrance, more toughness, and then Blood Rush Bellow. Again, hitting Beast Within, Blood Rush Bellow, and a Humble Entrance. And then our last set of cards is another Escalate Order, which we still have the extra action point for. Beautiful, right? And that's another 6, generating 3 more toughness into our Heroic Grits, right? So each of these is 1 toughness, and of course a nice chunky buff clearing our hand and allowing us to rock for 103, right? That's a pretty tough rock, is it not? But how does it compare to Pleiades? Right, this did not go as expected. So this is the first combo I'm dubbing because I could not wrap my head around it enough to be able to play it out and talk about it at the same time, right? Even though, I set it up, I wrote down everything I have to do, I practiced it. It's just, there's so much going on as Pleiades, right? We have the suspense counters to manage, we have the timing of 3, Suspensor is leaving, so we can play Standing Ovation, and then we have the main crux of the combo, which is, generating toughness so that we can grit something really, really big, right? But anyway, let's get into it. So, same courtesy to Pleiades as we gave to toughness, right? Items on board, we have the full 4 set of action points, the full 4 set of 2 resources, and the Sapphire Amulet for intellect. So, what to do first? Well, of course, setup, right? We have What Happens Next, which is an absolute disgusting card, Leyline from Arsenal, and a To Be Continued, which we can use Pleiades for, right? So I get to move 1 counter from To Be Continued to a What Happens Next, with the idea being that, again, we're trying to prolong how long we have them around for, because the discount is disgusting, and then also we want to make sure that we have the correct timing, so that 3 auras leave the subsequent next, not the next turn, but for the next 4 turns after that, 3 turns after that, right? So we can Standing Ovation. So yeah, we move 1 counter from To Be Continued to one of the What Happens Next. And then we move on to our opponent's turn. Now, again, we have what happens next. It's a discount, so we can play the in your palms of your hand for free, which is absolutely disgusting, right? So, yeah, we play that out, and we get to move one more counter, or the last counter, from the to be continued to another one of the what happens next. So it's 2, 3, and 3, right? Meaning that at least 2 of them will be around for 3 turns. We can then use the discount again to play our next hand, which is Promising Terrain, Embolden, in your palm of your hands, right, for a bunch of draw and setup, so that, again, we have the Suspense Auras to time, and we also have Seismic Surge Generation for our Standing Ovations, since they are actually Guardian attacks, right? So the main idea is the 3 turns of Standing Ovation, we want them to be big, right? So an Embolden for 13, I think it is, right? Free, Seismic Surge, and Confidence, so that, realistically they wouldn't be blocked out, right? Because I like, as much as this is complete arseful, I like having some sense of, yeah, this is how it should go if you were to, try to distill a little bit of this, right? So Seismic Eruption gets us to 6, and then Sapphire Amulet allows us to gain 1 intellect. Now, this is our last opponent's turn before our shenanigans, so we get to block out with Dig In and Boards to Boot, pitching 2 cards and generating 6 toughness. Once we have that toughness, a lot of other things then fall into place, right? Because we have Escalade Order, and we can basically bounce Escalade Order back as well a couple times, right? And use that to generate some more toughness. But we also do have the discount, of course, so we definitely want to play at least 1 palms, so we can charm it, bounce it back to our hand, and then play it for free, right? So making ample use of what happens next. It is just such a disgusting card. I thought Palms was bad, but this is worse. We can also Tiara to gain a counter. Again, managing the Suspense Auras and prolonging our free discount, right? So we have 2 more charms to bounce 2 auras, and one of the what happens next did leave, so that will be essentially our 3 auras of suspense so that we can Standing Ovation. We're Promising Terrain and Bolden again to make Standing Ovation big enough, the next one, as well as set up the Seismic Surge. And then we also can move one of the counters from the in your palms to again prolong the what happens next, because we want to keep the 2 that we have left around as long as possible. We also have our first Escalade Order, so we can Time Snap and Energy Pot so that we can play it after the Standing Ovation so it doesn't eat the confidence and get some more toughness. Now, Up on a Pedestal also comes into play here, right, as our way to bounce Escalade Order back. So we go Standing Ovation, so it has the confidence, Escalade Order, then we close the chain, play Up on a Pedestal, bounce Escalade Order back to the top of our deck, and then we have another copy to play on our following turn, which is our turn, right? Because Standing Ovation landed, right? So next Standing Ovation turn, similar sort of setup. We want another Embolden, a Promising Terrain, right? So that way all 3 Standing Ovations, big, confident, done, right? And then also just setting up more toughness. So yeah, we have a whole nother string of Escalade Orders to make use of the action points from the time snaps, and of course the energy pots. I also believe I misplay this turn. I meant to hold firm the arm piece that we have on the next turn, not this turn. So I think I end up with like 1 floating resource, which messes up my last turn. So this is slightly off, right? Which is also a sad thing because I usually like optimizing them, but this took me a while, right? So cut me some slack. But yeah, so we can crack all the energy pots, the Ruby Amulet, the time snaps, and then we can just throw our Standing Ovation and then our 3 Escalate Orders. Our Up on the Pedestal will also proc, allowing us to again bounce one of the Escalate Orders back. And yeah, we move on to our next turn. So we hit one of the Escalate Orders. Standing Up on a Pedestal procs before Promising Terrain. So we bounce Escalate Order back, and then we draw it off of the Promising Terrain, right? So that's why it's in my hand. And then we can go Humble Entrance for a few more toughness, and Standing Ovations for the last time. And yeah, then we're all primed and ready to grit, right? So Heroic Grit, and I should have been able to play our little drum, right, for an extra toughness. But again, I messed up on the resources, so I should have 1 energy pot left here to be able to play Escalate. But instead, we just pitched the beat into it. I mean, it would have been an extra +3, right? So, a drop in the barrel for what we've actually set up, but still, matterful. But yeah, so we get to Escalate Order, and it swings for a nice 114 off of 36 toughness, right? So, nice, big chunk of toughness. Well, there we go. Utilizing Heroic Grit, the scalable buff, depending on how much toughness you control, we're able to generate 36 toughness tokens as Pleiades, versus unfortunately only 30 as Tuffnut, meaning Tuffnut ended up with a +90 to his rock versus Pleiades 108. So in the end, I guess Tuffnut was just not tough enough, but I mean, what do you expect? Pleiades has access to a whole good set of draw, not to mention then taking extra turns versus Tuffnut's -1 intellect. Yeah. Well, how'd you do? Who'd you bet on? I would guess that the majority of you probably picked Pleiades. I mean, the card pool kind of just speaks for itself. So yeah, Pleiades is the winner, but, not by far, right? The gap is not that big considering the extra turns that we did take. But we'll leave it there, right? enjoy the video, made it this far, like and subscribe button's right down there, free of charge to click. But hey, if you are looking for some new clothes and you are interested in, going a little bit further with the sport, you can check out my Into the AM link and code for 10% off at discount. Other than that, hope you enjoyed. See ya.